Hey, this is Lawsuit Legal, and today we're going to discuss everything that you need to know about legal compensation before you're considering suing. How many civil legal claims are filed each year? According to a 2005 report by the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 7.4 million civil claims were filed nationwide in the United States, and 26,950 civil cases were disposed in state courts of general jurisdiction, which basically just means that almost 27,000 of those cases reached an agreement on a state or local level. 61% of the nation's civil cases disposed of by trial were tort claims, 33 of disposed cases nationwide were cases involving contract cases, and 6% of the disposed nationwide cases involved real property cases. In 2005, there were a total of 16,397 tort cases handled on a state level, with almost 90% disposed through a jury trial. The majority of those cases were 9,431 motor vehicle tort cases, and then far behind that was medical malpractice cases at 2,449 cases and 1,863 premises liability cases. There were 725 intentional tort cases, 664 other unknown tort cases, 378 conversion cases, 354 product liability cases, 187 slander or libel cases, 150 professional malpractice cases, 138 animal attack cases, and 58 false arrest or imprisonment cases. Additionally, there were 8,917 contract cases that were handled in state courts in 2005, with 36% disposed through a jury trial. The majority of the cases were 2,883 seller plaintiff cases and 2,591 buyer plaintiff cases, with fraud coming in with 1,114 cases. The remaining contract cases involved 605 rental or lease cases, 558 other employment disputes, 319 employment discrimination cases, 249 mortgage foreclosure cases, 245 other unknown contract cases, 154 tortious interference cases, 119 partnership disputes, and 82 subrogation cases. There were 1,633 real property cases handled on a state level in 2005, with 26.4% of those cases being disposed through a jury trial. 963 cases involved title or boundary disputes, 542 involved eminent domain cases, and 129 cases were other or unknown real property cases. Of the total number of tort cases, the majority of cases were individual versus individual cases, totaling 45.5% of jury trials and 33.7% of bench trials, followed by individuals versus business cases, which accounted for 30.4% of all jury trials and 22.2% of bench trials. Business versus individual cases were only 1.8% of all jury trials and 17.9% of bench trials, while business versus business cases were 6.4% of jury trials and 16.8% of bench trials. So how often do they win? Overall, 53.2% of jury trials and 65.7% bench trials were won by the plaintiff, where 51.3% of jury trials and 56.2% of bench trials were won by plaintiffs in tort cases. 61.9% of plaintiffs in contract cases that went to jury trials won, and 68.5% of bench trial contract cases were resolved in favor of the plaintiff. In 2005, there were a total of 15,428 tort cases that went to civil trials in state courts, and of those, 51.6% were won by the plaintiffs. Of the 8,844 motor vehicle cases, 64.3% were won by plaintiffs, whereas only 22.7% of the 2,397 medical malpractice cases went in favor of the plaintiffs, and 1,827 premise liability cases went to civil trial, with 38.4% of plaintiffs winning. Animal attacks had a 75.2% win rate for plaintiffs. Product liability cases had a 54.9% win rate for plaintiffs, 48.3% of conversion cases went in favor of the plaintiffs, and 41.1% of other or unknown tort cases were won by the plaintiff. Slander and libel cases and professional malpractice both had slightly over 39% plaintiff wins. Premises liability had a 38.4% win percentage by plaintiffs, 19.6% of plaintiffs won product liability cases, and 15.5% of plaintiffs won false arrest or imprisonment cases. Of the 8,015 contract civil cases that were seen in state courts, 65.6% of them were won by the plaintiffs. Almost 90% of all mortgage foreclosure cases were in favor of the plaintiff, 74.6% of seller plaintiff cases were in favor of the plaintiff, 65.7% of partnership dispute cases were in favor of the plaintiff, and 62.3% of the 2,252 buyer plaintiff cases were won by the plaintiff. The plaintiffs won over 60% of the employment discrimination and tortious interference cases, 59% of other or unknown contract and fraud cases were in favor of the plaintiffs, 15.9% of plaintiffs won other employment disputes, and 27.5% of subrogation cases were won by the plaintiffs. What does the average median final award, including compensatory and punitive damages, look like in a tort case? When it came to the average final award, asbestos cases had the highest median final award with $682,000, with medical malpractice following with a median final award of $400,000. Employment discrimination cases had a median final award of $175,000. Premises liability cases had a median of $98,000, and mortgage or foreclosure and fraud cases coming in at around $75,000 for the median final award. Intentional tort cases had a median final award of $38,000, seller plaintiff cases around $27,000, buyer plaintiff cases around $17,000, and automobile case final median award was at $15,000. But how often are punitive damages won in tort cases? 27% of the plaintiffs saw an amount award of over $250,000, and 13% saw awards over $1 million, but 60% of all plaintiffs saw awards less than $250,000. The median overall punitive damage amount awarded was $64,000, and just 5% of all plaintiff winners in general civil trials were awarded punitive damages in 2005. When it came to medical malpractice, judgments versus settlements varied greatly. According to the 2013 medical malpractice payout analysis, the total medical malpractice payout amount in 2013 was $3.6 billion. However, 93% of that money was from settlements, with only 5% of the payouts being from a judgment. For the years of 2014 through 2015, overtime was the most common type of allegation in unsettled wage and hour cases involving employment law claims. In 2015 alone, the Wage and Hour Division of the Department of Labor found over $246 million in back wages. 41% of payouts involved overtime cases. Missed meals and breaks and misclassification payouts each had 17% of the payouts, and off-the-clock cases took home 15%. Minimum wage cases were 6% of the payouts, dining and duffling were 4%, and tip pooling cases only took home 2% of the payouts. There are two types of damages in tort cases: compensatory and punitive. Compensatory damages are awarded in civil court cases where loss has occurred as a result of the negligence or unlawful conduct of another party. Punitive damages are damages intended to reform or deter the defendant and others from engaging in conduct similar to that which formed the basis of the lawsuit. There are three main types of compensatory damages in civil lawsuits: compensation for medical care, recovering lost wages, and payouts for emotional distress. There are other types of damages similar to emotional distress, including loss of companionship, mental anguish, stress and anxiety, and negligent infliction of emotional distress. If you have a potential lawsuit claim, you should reach out to a lawyer as soon as possible. Defendants will do everything they can to limit their liability after an accident. Victims need to find a skilled lawyer focused on the recovery to ensure they don't settle for less than what they may be entitled to.